Hello, everyone. Welcome into the Friday edition of the Greater Houston Area Ranking Scoreboard Show. Going to be a lot of content today, so buckle in. We're going to start off with Thursday's scores. In 6A, number 4, Westfield takes down Aldine MacArthur 58-6. Number 7, Tompkins 52-28 over Maid Creek. Number 15, Summer Creek 68-0 over Beaumont United. Number 19, Cy Ranch 44-0 over Sly Lakes. Number 20, Hightower 34-0 over Fort Bend Elkins. And then in 5A action, it was number 1, Fort Bend Marshall 63-0 over Willow Ridge. Number 10, Magnolia West 51-12 over BF Terry. And in our 6-man Super 6 action, number 3, Conroe Covenant 58-0 over Westbury Christian. On to action that'll be going on tonight in the 6A. Number 1, North Shore against Humble. Number 23, Cinco Ranch faces off with number 2, Katy. Number 4, Atascocita. Number 10, C.E. Cain. Number 25, Pearland, Dawson, and number 5, Shadow Creek. Number 6, the Woodlands host Caney Creek. Number 18, Klein Collins versus number 9, backwards. Number 18, Klein Cain versus number 9, Klein Collins. Number 11, Dickinson hosts Clear Lake. Number 13, Jersey Village at Houston Memorial. Number 14, Deer Park hosts Channelview. And number 16, New Caney host Cleveland. We're back to more of the schedule. But first, let's go in depth into this Cinco Ranch Katy game. You see Cinco Ranch is 6-2 on the year, 5-1 in district. Katy is 7-0, 5-0 in district. Cinco Ranch is putting up 47.88 points per game. That's the second highest scoring offense in 6A Region 3 and the sixth highest scoring offense in 6A overall. Katy offense is putting up 46 points a game, which is the sixth highest scoring offense in 6A Region 3. Cinco Ranch defense is giving up 30.5 points per game, and then Katy is giving up 14.43 points per game, which is the fifth stingiest defense in 6A Region 3. And this is how they've performed to this point in the season. You see Cinco Ranch losses came to 2-4 Klein and Oak and 5-3 Morton Ranch, with big win over Katy Tompkins back in week 4, 42-14. Taking care of business in district play since that Morton Ranch game with wins over Maid Creek, Jordan, and Peyto. Katy undefeated on the season with big non-district wins over Clear Springs and Humble Atascocita. Narrowly held off Tompkins, and since then has just rolled in taking care of business. Now, the only time Cinco Ranch has beaten Katy in their history was in 2008 when in an overtime game. Now, the key players for Cinco Ranch in this game will be their senior quarterback, Gavin Rutherford, who is 141 completions on 226 attempts for 2,341 yards, 22 touchdowns against only 4 interceptions. He's also ran the ball 73 times for 474 yards and 8 touchdowns. In the backfield, the carries are split. A few more carries to Sam McKnight at 84 carries for 469 yards, 13 touchdowns rushing. Eric Ekstrom, though, will see the ball a lot with 59 carries, 221 yards, and 4 TDs. When Rutherford does throw the ball, it's going to be spread all over the field, but his favorite targets are Seth Savarino with 38 receptions, 8 touchdowns, Noah Abood with 35 receptions, and 10 touchdowns. And in the kicking game for the Cougars, we're going to have Santiago Tabordo, who has 46 of 47 on PAT attempts, so very solid kicker for the Cougars. He is 6 of 9 on field goals and has a long field goal of 47. For the Tigers, key players are going to be, of course, Seth Davis. He has 108 carries for 871 yards, 11 touchdowns on the season. Caleb Koger, their quarterback, 45 of 83 for 776 yards, 10 touchdowns, and only 3 interceptions on the season. And his favorite targets are Oliver Ginn with 10 receptions and 206 yards, Adam Jackson, 11 receptions, 161 yards, and another solid kicker here with Hunter Andrus. He is 43 of 45 on point after attempts, 2 for 2 on field goals, with the long being 37. And why this game matters, looking at the standings for 19-6A, Tompkins, Peyto, Seven Lakes, and May Creek all played last night, and the standings are reflected here. You can see this is basically the de facto district championship game. The winner here will most likely win the district. For Cinco Ranch, they are off next week before wrapping up the season against Seven Lakes. This is a big game for them. A win here will clinch a playoff berth for them. If they don't, they still have an excellent opportunity of making the playoffs, even without a win, but especially with a win in Week 11 over Seven Lakes. Next game I want to take a look at is Atascocita and CE King. Atascocita 6-1 on the season, 4-0 district play. CE King 5-2 on the season, 3-1 in district play. Atascocita's putting up over 44 points a game. King's putting up over 37 points a game. Atascocita, take a look at the defense, just over 7 points a game, which is the second stingiest defense in all of 6A and the stingiest defense in 6A Region 3. These teams have played 4 times since 2017, and Atascocita has won all 4 of those meetings. On the season, you can see Atascocita's loss came to Katy, 28-25, tough and tight game. And CE King's losses came when they traveled to Allen early in the year, and then a couple of weeks ago when they played at North Shore. And taking a look at the 21-6A standings, Summer Creek and Westbrook played last night. You see that Atascocita wants this win, and then that will set up a de facto championship game next Thursday night, Week 10, and when they host North Shore, provided North Shore takes care of business this week. The top 4 teams in this district are pretty clear. It's a matter of the order and the seedings for playoffs. Now let's take a look at the Pearland Dawson Shadow Creek game. Pearland Dawson just got into my 6A rankings with their win last week over crosstown rival Pearland. They're 4-3 on the season, but importantly 4-0 in district play. So all their losses came in non-district. Shadow Creek undefeated on the season. They are 7-0, 4-0 in district play. They are putting up 30. Dawson is putting up over 30 points per game, where Shadow Creek is scoring over right at 42 points per game. Dawson giving up just over 22 points per game, and Shadow Creek giving up just over 11 points per game. These two teams have played the last 2 years, and they split those games, with Dawson winning the first meeting in 2020, 31-28, and Shadow Creek winning last year's meeting 45-31. Here's how they got here. As I mentioned, Dawson lost all 3 of their non-district games, but has won all their district games. Shadow Creek with an impressive win over Manville and Clear Springs in non-district, and has walked through district play undefeated. Now for Dawson, key players are going to be quarterback Colin Johnson. He's 101 completions on the year versus 166 attempts. For 1,358 yards, 9 touchdowns, 1 interception. Bryce Burgess will see most of the carries, 73 carries for 550 yards, 11 touchdowns. Kenneth Stroman III will see a lot of carries. He has 61 carries for 406 yards and 3 touchdowns. When Johnson does throw the ball, His favorite targets are Joshua Gills-Harry with 9 receptions and 4 touchdowns, and Jaden McCleskey with that's 19 receptions, not 9. And McCleskey also has 19 receptions and 1 touchdown. Solid kicker in Aiden Treadaway, 12 for 12 on point after attempts, 3 for 3 on field goals with a long 47. On the defensive side of the ball, Aaron Jensen. Messed that up. So they split up their point after kicking attempts, and Aaron Jensen is also perfect point after attempts, 16 of 16. On the defensive side of the ball, Cody Jackson, 46 tackles, 5 for loss. Hudson Windsor, 38 tackles, 7 for loss. And Bryson Burgess, who also the running back, the brother of Bryce Burgess, the running back, with 36 tackles. Shadow Creek, Duke Butler was the quarterback to start the season, but took a season-ending injury. Since then, it's been Ja'Cory Watson, who is 54 of 89 for 715 yards, 10 touchdowns, and 4 interceptions. His favorite targets are Dane Johnson with 21 receptions and 3 touchdowns, and Caleb Washington with 11 receptions, 4 touchdowns. Joshua Best with 12 receptions, 2 touchdowns. When they run the ball, they like to go to very balanced running attack between Jacob Washington, 62 carries and 3 touchdowns, and Dalik Burton on 59 carries and 4 touchdowns. Defensively, it's Sean Gilbert with 37 tackles, Scott Komoda with 24 tackles, and Maurice Williams Jr. with 23 tackles. You can see the 23 6A standings. Nobody played last night. This is, again, the de facto district championship game. Both teams undefeated, and after this week, only 2 weeks from now. Now let's move up north for the look in depth into the Klein-Cain, Klein-Collins game. Klein-Cain 6-1 on the season, 3-1 in district play. Klein-Collins 7-0 on the season, 4-0 in district play. Klein-Cain scoring just over 40 points per game, giving up just over 18. Klein-Collins scoring just over 42 and giving up just over 21 points per game. These two teams have played 4 times. Klein-Cain won in 2020, 35-21. Klein-Collins won the other 3 games. Look at what they've done on the season. You can see Klein-Cain's only loss was a couple of weeks ago to Klein Forest, 14-17. And Klein-Cain has rolled through the schedule undefeated. Looking at the standings in 15-6A, Klein and Tomball Memorial played last night. Klein-Cain sitting tied for first with Tomball, and Klein-Collins sitting tied for first with Tomball. And then Klein-Cain currently in third, just in front of Klein Forest. Let's get back to the games on the scoreboard. Tonight, number 17, Cy-Fair travels to Spring Woods. Number 21, Clear Falls hosts Brazos Wood. Number 22, Houston Lamar takes on Houston Chavez. Number 24, Clear Springs takes on Clear Creek. In 5A action, it'll be number 2, Manville at Magnolia. Number 3, Lake Creek at Huntsville. Number 4, Port Arthur Memorial at Baytown Lee. Number 6, Port Neches Groves at Santa Fe. And number 9, Fulshire host Fort Vancouver. Number 12, Kingwood Park will be at Barbers Hill. And number 13, Texas City will be at Dayton. We're going to go in depth in those games in just a minute. On 4A games for tonight, number 2, Silsbee will be at number 8, Hamshire-Fannett. We'll also go in depth on that game in a moment. Number 3, Lumberton is at Huffman-Hargrave. Number 4, Stafford is at Navasota. Number 5, Jasper hosts West Orange Star. Number 6, El Campo host Iowa Colony. Number 7, Little Cypress Mauriceville host Spadora. Number 9, Royal host Sweeney. And let's talk about this Kingwood Park Barbers Hill game. Kingwood Park comes in 7-1 on the season, 6-0 in district play. Barbers Hill comes in 5-2 on the season, 4-1 in district play. Kingwood Park is scoring 40 points per game. Barbers Hill is putting up 34 points per game. Kingwood Park is giving up just under 19 points per game, where Barbers Hill is giving up 18 points per game. That Kingwood Park offense is the 5th highest scoring offense in 5AD1 Region 3. These two teams have played 12 times since 2008. Fairly balanced. Kingwood Park has won 7 of those 12 meetings. You can see how they got here. Kingwood Park's only loss was to Katy Morton Ranch in week 2, whereas Barbers Hill's 2 losses came week 1 to Magnolia West, and a district game a few weeks ago to LaPorte. The 8 5AD1 standings, you can see Kingwood Park's at the top of the standings. Also undefeated is Port Arthur Memorial. And then here is Barbers Hill. These top 3 teams are virtually assured of the playoffs. This game could really have an effect on the seeding and Kingwood Park's ability to win the district title. Now, the Texas City Dayton game. Texas City is 4-3 on the season, 2-2 in district play. Dayton is 5-2 on the season, 3-1 in district play. See Texas City scoring 24 points per game while giving up 18. Dayton is scoring 40 while giving up 20. They played the last 2 years with Texas City winning both of those games, 65-13 and 35-7. On the season, you can see Texas City's losses come to an undefeated Galveston Ball team, a 5-2 Port Neches Groves team, and a 6-1 Fort Bend Marshall team. Call all those quality losses. We can see disturbingly their wins are coming against teams with losing records, or the team from Mexico, or a 500 record. Friendswood. Dayton, actually kind of similar. They lost to a 3-4 Porter team. They lost to a 5-2 Port Neches Grove team. You'd have to say that their best win on the year may well have been to Houston Waltrip week 2. That win didn't look as good at the time, but is holding up very well. They've also have big wins over Santa Fe, Nederland, and Galena Park. But obviously the tough part of the district schedule is coming up with this game against Texas City and then week 11 against Fort Bend Marshall. And the 9 5AD2 standings, Fort Bend Marshall beat Willowbridge last night. You can see right here, Port Neches Groves 3-1, Dayton 3-1, and Texas City 2-2. Critical game for Texas City as they're battling it out for one of those final playoff spots. Silsbee and Hamshire-Fannett, critical for a showdown. Silsbee 7-0 on the season, 3-0 in district play. Hamshire-Fannett 6-2, 3-1 in district play. Silsbee's line of the scoreboard at 47 points per game, only giving up 13. Hamshire-Fannett scoring 39 points per game, giving up 12.5. That Silsbee offense is number 3 in 4AD2 Region 3, whereas the Hamshire-Fannett defense is number 2. The Hamshire-Fannett offense is number 4. The Silsbee defense is number 3. Big clash of teams doing very well with both sides of the ball. When Silsbee is on offense, the star of the game is going to be Draylon Miller. He carries the ball 20 times for 288 yards and 3 touchdowns, but where he really shines, where he is a top recruit is catching the ball. 30 receptions, 873 yards, 12 touchdowns. Now, man responsible for getting him the ball will be Mason Brisbane, who is 85 for 132 for 1,637 yards, 20 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. When they do run the ball, it's a very, very, very balanced rushing attack. Darrell Miller is part of that. Kevin Martin with 38 carries and 5 touchdowns. Trey Kibbles with 58 carries, 2 touchdowns. Jonah Brown with 44 carries, 3 touchdowns. We go to the defensive side of the ball, and the key players for Silsbee are Jaron Williams, 82 tackles, 16 tackles for loss, and 3 sacks. Jonah Brown with 61 tackles, and Gary Wyatt with 54 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, and 6 sacks. For Hamshire-Fannett, it's also a star player, and that's Dante Zeno. Except for him, he is the quarterback. He has 62 completions of 103 passes on the year for 1,110 yards, 11 touchdowns, 1 interception. And then he has carried the ball 104 times for 673 yards and 15 touchdowns. The other guys carrying the rock for Hamshire-Fannett will be Seth Ramirez with 47 carries and 3 touchdowns. Tyler Spencer with 57 carries and 9 touchdowns. When Zeno does throw the ball, he'll be looking for John Sanderson with 17 receptions, 3 touchdowns. Mason Hine with 14 receptions and 2 touchdowns. Stout on the defense for the Longhorns. John Sanderson with 77 tackles, 9 for loss. Homer Ware, 71 tackles, 6 for loss. And Raheem Miller with 68 tackles, 12 for loss. You see on the year, Silsbee undefeated. Hamshire-Fannett's losses have come to Lumberton week 1 and Jasper week 6, just before the big win over West Orange Stark in week 7. The 9-4 D2 district standings, you can see Silsbee is sitting there at the top, tied with Jasper at 3-0. Hamshire-Fannett right below that at 3-1. Critical game if they want to stay in the district competition for the Longhorns. Let's finish out the schedule for today as we move on to 3A action. Number 1, Hitchcock hosts Hempstead. Number 2, Columbus is at Yoakum. Number 5, Anahuac is at Buna. Number 6, Bowling hosts East Bernard. Number 7, Tidehaven is at Danbury. Number 8, East Chambers host Tarkington. Number 9, Van Black host Rice Consolidated. Go on to the non-UL 11-man action. Number 1, St. Thomas was scheduled to play the Village, but the Village has already forfeited that game. Number 2, John Cooper will be hosting Fort Worth Trinity Valley. Number 3, Bellaire Episcopal takes on Houston Kinkaid. Number 4, Houston St. John's travels to Dallas to take on the Episcopal School of Dallas. Number 6, the Woodlands Christian travels to Fort Bend to take on number 10, Fort Bend Christian. Number 7, Cypress Christian at Magnolia Legacy Prep. Number 9, Houston Second Baptist at number 8, Houston Lutheran South. In the non-UAL 6-man action, number 1, Pasadena First Baptist hosts Allen Academy. Number 2, Baytown Christian travels to Alvin Living Stones. Number 5, Houston, Texas Christian Tigers travel to Corpus Christi to play Annapolis. And number 6, Fort Bend Chargers travel to Belleville to take on Belleville Faith. Now let's talk a bit about that Bellaire Episcopal Houston Kinkaid game. Bellaire Episcopal 6-2, 2-1 on the season. Houston Kinkaid 5-3, 2-0 on the season. You can see Bellaire Episcopal scoring 35 points per game to Houston Kinkaid's 25 points per game. Bellaire Episcopal is giving up 18 points a game, while Kinkaid is giving up 19 points a game. These two teams have played each other a lot. Since 2005, there have been 25 meetings, with Episcopal winning 14 times, Kinkaid winning 10 times, one game resulting in a tie. Kinkaid has won the last two meetings, 31-24 and 27-14. Episcopal last won in 2019, 42-21. For Bellaire Episcopal, you can see the losses have come to Houston Second Baptist and the Episcopal School of Dallas. For Kinkaid, their losses have come to Jasper in week 1, Archbishop Shaw out of Louisiana in week 3, and Houston St. Thomas in week 6. And for the standings in SBC 4A, now this SBC is a little unique in that there's only one district, and the top two teams of that district play in the state championship game, or the conference championship game, actually. That actually happens during UIL week 11. This year it'll be on that Saturday. It will be at the Sheldon ISD Stadium. So these teams are playing for a spot in that game right now. Kinkaid at 2-0 leads the district, and Bellaire Episcopal 2-1 is second in the district, with the Dallas Episcopal School 1-1, Houston St. John's 1-1, and Dallas St. Mark's 0-3. So this is a big game, taking a step toward getting to play in that championship game. Now the Woodlands Christian Fort Bend Christian game. Woodlands Christian is 5-2 on the year, 2-0 in district. Fort Bend Christian is 3-4, 1-1 in district. Woodlands Christian scoring just under 26 points per game, giving up almost 18 points per game. Scoring over Fort Bend Christian scores over 26 points per game, giving up just over 22 points per game. These two teams have played 3 times since 2017. The Woodlands Christian won in 2017, 27-16. Fort Bend Christian has won 2 games since then, 55-28 and 53-14. You see Woodlands Christian's losses were to Grapevine Faith and to Hitchcock. And then Fort Bend Christian, you see where their losses come to Dallas Christian School, Houston St. John's, and Cibolo Still. TAPS Division II 4A standings. Actually, let's skip that for right now, because we're going to do in-depth on another game in this district, and then we'll look at the standings at the end. So Houston Second Baptist versus Houston Lutheran South. Second Baptist 3-4 on the season, but 2-0 in district play. Lutheran South 4-3 on the season, 1-1 in district play. Houston Second Baptist is averaging just under 29 points per game, giving up just under 25 points per game. Lutheran South averaging just under 24 points per game and giving up just over 22. You see Second Baptist with the bad non-district run there, where they dropped 4 in a row to Plano Prestonwood, Bellaire Episcopal, Houston St. John's, and Houston Kinkaid. Whereas Lutheran South had a good run to start the season, and then has dropped 3 in a row before bouncing back last week. So these two games are going to have a huge impact on the TAPS Division II District 4 standings. These are currently the top 4 teams playing each other. Woodland Christian is playing Fort Bend Christian. Houston Second Baptist playing Houston Lutheran South. A lot of the tell of who will win this district championship starts to be told tonight. And then we move on to the very limited Saturday schedule. In 6A, number 8, Fort Bend Ridgepoint hosts Fort Bend Austin. Number 12, Stratford hosts Cy Ridge. In 5A, number 8, Galveston Ball travels to Houston to play number 14, Waltrip. In 4A, number 10, Houston Washington plays Houston Fur. And the following teams open this week in 5A, number 5, Foster. And 4A, number 1, Belleville. And number 3A, Orangefield. Number 3, Orangefield. Number 4, Hallettsville. Number 10, Brazos. And then 6-man, number 4, Sugar Land Logos Prep is open. that's going to wrap it up for the Friday edition of Scoreboard. Tune back in tomorrow, 8 a.m., and we will go over the scores from today's game and look at the schedule again and go in depth on fewer than 10 games. It'll just be 2 or 3 games that we'll go in depth on tomorrow. So tune back in tomorrow at 8 o'clock.